I think that I would love to start with Ikigai in the small. For me, that the whole idea of the joy of small things that can lead to a meaningful life is wonderful, and particularly because I work with people with illness, and so therefore I don't want to give my talk now, so I have to be careful. But I love the small things because so often, especially in the West, we're geared to producing action figures and we're geared to becoming famous and having fame and fortune and working very, very hard to produce and be productive. And I don't think that that helps us. So I think Ikigai, because of its focus on how can we have a good life every day, no matter what else is going on, is the area that really, really interests me.
I agree. And it certainly takes the pressure off, doesn't it?
It does. It does. Because no matter what happens, you can create little joyful, meaningful moments. I love the word eudaimonia because it can mean happy and not happy, right? We don't really have a word like that in English, but it's that idea that things can be going really wrong in your life, but you can still have these heartfelt, meaningful moments along with all the things that are going wrong.
To touch on that, Ken Moggy, we didn't talk about this yesterday, but he's written that he can easily identify 100 sources of Ikigai, and he describes Ikigai being robust because if you have this bad start to the day and you spill your coffee on yourself or you get a bad email, doesn't matter. A few hours later, you can have a great meal or a great conversation with someone or do work you care about and feel Ikigai. So yeah, that's fascinating to have 100 Ikigai sources.
Yeah, I think there's lots. I have lots, and it changes over time. That's my experience.
Thank you. What about you, Clark? What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I think that if we have a sense of purpose in life, that purpose can become our Ikigai, and that purpose can override all the little things that happen that are unpleasant. There is no getting through life without unpleasantness. There will be unpleasantness. There will be days when many of us are not going to feel very motivated. But if we have a sense of purpose and we make that sense of purpose more important than how we feel, we don't become tyrannized by our own feelings, then we can live with a sense of Ikigai. And to echo Trudy's point, we can live with that sense of Ikigai regardless of what is happening, because our purpose is more important than the little things happening.
Yes, that's remind me of maybe to tie purpose into the small Japanese expression chanto suru and doing things properly. So I love this idea of sense of purpose and that it helps us get through our day. But Japanese are really good at tying purpose into the small as well. And on this theme of small things. So I think we should now get the perspective of someone who's Japanese, but has lived also for quite a long time outside of Japan. So Shin, you're probably the most qualified person to talk about Ikigai here. So what are your thoughts on small Ikigai?
Thanks, Nick, and hi, Trudy, Clark, and everybody else. Well, I don't know about most qualified about that, but I identify as a person who I do research about Ikigai just because I'm not, I'm an Ikigai deprived person maybe, but anyway, so as a background, I'm Japanese, born and raised until 21, and I came to North America for my, advanced degrees. Lived here in North America, US and Canada for 11, 12 years, and I do research leisure. Yes, you heard right. It's actually there's a science about leisure, free time behavior. Basically, that's what I do. So going back to your original question, Nick, about the Ikigai in small, that's where really I think leisure shines in a way, and also leisure is sometimes the relationship between leisure and Ikigai is lost sometimes. That we can be so busy in our daily life, bogged down, work, family, relationships, so many other things, and pandemic, not to mention, that we can forget about some of our small but very cherishable moments of leisure. So the first study I conducted, it wasn't really focused on Ikigai, but it was about how leisure can potentially help psychosocial recovery of the disaster survivors in 2011, the March 11th, if you remember, the earthquake and tsunami and nuclear crisis in Japan.
That's
So I
right.
talked to some of these survivors, and they're year after that, and I just asked, like, okay, what make your life going? What makes you going, actually, with there's still so many problems, financial issues. They lost the family members and friends. They lost the house. There's so many problems they were still having. And what makes you keep going? Wake up in the morning and get going with your life. Many people talked about, you know what, Shin, I can do gardening now. I have my garden back. And a flower comes up, flowers just, bloom. And that just, for some people, many people, it's just small things, but it meant very much from their perspective. And just really taking a time, pausing, and really giving ourselves and our life to appreciate that, to actually even look at that, recognize that. I think there's quite a bit of value to it. And our life systematically bias us not to do so to an extent with their emails and everything. So that's, I think, where leisure comes in. A lot of leisure experiences come in. It's not just about the big major trip, like, bucket list trip that makes your life Ikigai, increased, but maybe it's a day-to-day small moments. So yeah, thanks.